Kim. Morning. Thanks for joining us. And for those of you finding us in our group or somewhere else on the internet, Kim's joining us this morning to talk about life as a coach. So Kim trained as a coach some time ago and now works. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you'll do it way better than me. So Kim, share with us who you are and who you help.
So I am Kim Raine and I'm a high performance and health coach. So I predominantly help women. I do help some men. I like helping men, but predominantly it's women that I work with in the kind of peri to postmenopausal bracket. So from 40 onwards, who are usually juggling everything, careers, families, life in general, and just sometimes often have maybe put their businesses before their bodies for a little bit too long, and just help them find that balance again, and delve into whatever comes up with that, because quite often, we'll talk about that, how coaching goes in all sorts of areas. So we go into all sorts of places, really.
Wow. And what were you doing before you found coaching? Like, how did you end up as a coach?
So my background, I was working in health and wellbeing anyway. So I was a personal trainer, and I started off as a personal trainer, and I then went on to train personal trainers to work with the European Institute of Fitness, and then went on to have my own business running fitness camps throughout Surrey, and did it there. So I was doing the health part of it. But I knew that the kind of like what I was talking about, the issue is very often not the issue. So quite often I was having conversations that I knew were just so surface, and I wanted to start having the deeper conversations. And in my business at any one time, I might have like 120 women within my clients at any one time. So I was privy to a lot of what was going on in women's lives and what their frustrations and challenges were. So for me, I kind of got to a point where the conversations I was having didn't really feel actually like the conversations that I should be having or could be having, that would really lead to finally moving forward and getting off. People would come along and do really well for a while, and then life would get in the way, and and I wanted to help people really transform and really to get to grips with that and just get on with their lives and just enjoy their lives more. So for me, that was like when I looked at actually training on the mindset side of things and the transformation side of things and that side of stuff.
And how has that helped your business? So from before, where you kind of describing having these surface level conversations, you've now got the skills and abilities to be able to help people with their mindset and transformation. So what are you seeing as different in now, how you help people?
I think the transformation is so much deeper. So it really helps people to get to know themselves, understand themselves and their behaviors, and help them do what they say they're going to do. So for me, it's made a big difference in the results people get, in terms of the longevity of those results. And for me, it did actually change everything in my business, because I sold the fitness camps and moved to doing more one-to-one coaching and some group programs and working in different areas with people and taking people on more of a journey. Quite often it would be, well, actually, why for me, if it was around sleep or stress or weight loss or any of those things, and we were trying to get to the problem, quite often it's like the problem is not a lack of strategy. It's very rarely on that side really is a lack of strategies. You want the strategies, but actually it's usually what's going on behind. So it could be, helping women unhappy in their careers, unhappy in their relationships, their homes, where they're living, what they're doing, all sorts of stuff. So it's really kind of changed my business insofar as I can now, I've got more diversity in what I do, and the people that I work with as well, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we often talk when we train people to be coaches, you've got your symptoms and you've got your cause. And I think what you've described really nicely is that without the skills to go deeper and bring that curiosity and find out what's really going on with someone, you can only really ever help someone with their symptoms.
Yes.
So like somebody cuts their knee, you put a plaster on it, but you don't stop them. You don't help them with what they're tripping up with in the first place, So,
Exactly.
your coaching training really helps you to almost move beyond the symptoms. Like you can move beyond, help clients to see through the noise and see through the forest to create the clearing where they can find what's really going on, what's really at the source of this. And when you work at the source, you can build up from there. So all of those strategies that people need, whether it's, as you said, with health and fitness or career change or whatever it might be in their life, the strategies are useful, but not before you've kind of done some work on that root cause. Because all the strategies in the world aren't going to help if you don't have the confidence to put them in place.
And I think with coaching as well, what you enable yourself to do and your client to do is find that safe space for that clearing, and give them the space to explore that in an environment where they might be able to be a bit more vulnerable, maybe a bit more honest, because sometimes the things that are holding them back are things that they don't want to deal with. They don't, because quite often they're big things to change. They're inconvenient. It's inconvenient if you're in an unhappy marriage, or you've built yourself in a career that you're really successful at and the money's good and everything's great, and yet there's something inside of you that's just not right. And so you're coming home from work and you're having a glass of wine and whatever that, vegging on the sofa or whatever it is. And actually you can keep going, and you can have those days where you're like, okay, I'm not going to have that glass of wine today. I'm not going to have that glass of wine. But really you're just hanging in there, and you're, because one bad day and you're like, I can't do this. I need the glass of wine or whatever it is. So it can be quite, I just love creating that space where we can explore what's really going on. And, when I trained, I was told that coaching is like a dance. Understanding those moves and how you make the moves. And for me, that's what I love about coaching, is being able to dance with these people, really. And
I really love the balance between support and challenge, which I think is kind of what you're describing, because to help people kind of unveil and unlayer all of those symptoms to start to see themselves and see what the crux of the problem is takes a huge amount of support and care and empathy and listening and all of that. And then when you get there, you start with like the gentle nudging, and you sort of, obviously with permission of your client, you get to ramp up your level of challenge. So at the end of it, you're both almost like sparring partners, aren't you? Whereas then, I want this, right, let's go. What do we need to do to get there? So there is a dance of energy between the soft and then the pressure, and making sure that your client feels both held and supported, whilst also you're their champion and their challenger, helping them to break through blocks and barriers to get to their results. And it's wonderful, like seeing people go on that journey and finding all of those resources that they've always had, but they've been kind of tucked away for years. Be it under the comfort blanket of a bottle of wine or a box of chocolates.
I think that's something that I learned from actually training to be a coach, to going all into being to that level of coaching, as opposed to what I was doing before, which was coaching, and I was actually having these conversations, but actually I would push that, I would sometimes push too far, too fast, or and I would, and then people go into that freeze mode, and that's just almost locks them down even more. So I think that's something that really, how coaching has really changed the way I work, is understanding more about that, how how fragile that relationship can be, and how you have to move.
Well, there's a sophistication to coaching, I think, as well, in being able to judge those moments, because I think you talk about the field of personal training, but you can also think of it in any kind of field of leadership where you're you're pushing and challenging someone to put themselves forward for something, go bigger, like, but if you don't deal with the root cause of what's getting in the way, they could go forward, fail, and use that as another reason to put in their bag of reasons as to why they're a failure or why they don't feel good enough or whatever it might be. So I think coaching is just a different route to be able to take, or you travel on with people, I suppose, to get them to where they want to be. Yeah. And so how do you experience working as a coach? Like what's it like for you? Do you enjoy it? What level of challenge does it bring you? You know, that sort of stuff.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And people say to me, oh, you're so lucky to love what you do, which I think is really, you know, it's so important to actually have. For me, coaching it brings me so much purpose. You know, it brings me so much purpose to my work. No call is the same. No client is the same. You know, it's really difficult when you're trying to, so we've been talking about messaging and how you know, promote yourself and how people come to you. And it's like very difficult, I find, to say what I do in just such a small few words, because with coaching, it's just so expansive. And so for me, I get such rewards out of the different journeys that we go on. It keeps me engaged. It keeps me sort of interested in every day is so different. And then the rewards of seeing the transformations people make through the journey, you know, and having that, you know, I recently was doing some testimonial videos, and, you know, two of the women at the end just burst into tears and said, they'd done the testimonial, which had taken them from the beginning to the end of their journey, and going through it like that had really made them realize how much they changed. And it's, you know, and then it gets my eyes going, because I just think, wow, you're amazing, look what you've done. And so I really find it so rewarding. I know it sounds a bit corny to say it, but, you know, I love it. And I think that that's so important, to have that fulfillment in your work and purpose to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I trained now as a coach. Gosh, I think I did my coaching training in 2009. And there's never been a boring day. Like you said, every client is different. Like you might think that, I have a lot of people say to me, gosh, it must be really draining. And I don't find coaching draining at all. Like I find it to be energizing. And, you know, we do these coaching trainings kind of every 6 months. We bring in a new cohorts. We have them in March and September. And people will say, don't you find it boring, like doing the same thing over and over again? But it's never the same thing over and over again, because whilst the content might be the same, the people are different, and they're all bringing their unique styles and their journeys. And of course, the coaching training program is kind of a flavor, as you've described. You're learning to coach, but in doing so, you learn all about yourself, all about the journey that you want to go on, and you go through that personal transformation as you gain the skills to help others.
And I was thinking that as you were saying it, I've got a client who is just retraining as a coach, and she's learning, so, you know, really going deep, and it's just, she's been coached, but actually to be on that side of it, she's going on a different level of journey. And I loved doing my coach training for that reason as well. It was just a year of like, oh wow. And I really did enjoy that sort of element to it as well. And I think, like you say, everybody's different. So for you guys, when you're teaching, everybody's coming with their own stories and beliefs and what makes them them. So it's never boring. It's challenging. It can be challenging. I've had challenging days and I've had challenging clients, but that's just more to get your teeth into.
Yeah, just this week we finished, this week was NLP week, so neuro-linguistic programming week, and we were doing an activity of trying on different mindsets and also introducing some of the fundamentals of NLP. And, you know, you could see pennies dropping on the call, and people just saying, like, this has blown my mind, like I'm totally seeing myself in a different way, it's really liberating, like all these different things, because there's just so, you know, the field of coaching is such vast. There's such vast gems in it. I just think this should be what you're taught at school.
Oh my goodness me!
There's so many life skills in there that can, you know, change the decisions that you make, the way you live your life. So
understanding how we work is just such a powerful gift to have, really. And for me, it's not just changed how I do my business, how I do business, and how my relationships with my clients, but it's changed my relationships with my close and personal, and with my children. I now, when I trained to be a coach, I mean, I said to my son, like, I was talking about some of his friends, and I said, why aren't they so? And he said, well, because they haven't got you coaching them all the time. And I have to stop myself sometimes with my children, and I think, okay, and I'll say, do you want me to coach you around, or to talk around this, to help you with this, or do you want me to just listen? But it's been really valuable over the years with that.
I would agree, and I know a lot of people on our programs are parents, and it can't help but filter into the way you are in relationship, right? In any relationship. And I'm the same with my kids. Like, I think before coaching, had I had children, I'd have been a fix-it parent. Like, I'd have definitely been, right, child comes with problem, right, I'll take that on for you, let me fix it for you. Whereas now I sort of partner with them. I was like, what do you want to do about it? What help do you want from me? How do you want me to speak to your teacher? Do you know, what would you like me to say? They are involved in the problem solving. They advocate for themselves with my support. And I don't always get it right, of course.
No.
Parents, nobody does. But there are moments in my parenting that are way more productive, I think, than had I not discovered coaching. So you're right. The ripple effect of learning to coach permeates every part of your life and all of the relationships within it.
And that's what makes it such a good career choice, because it's just, I think that's why it someone said to me, well, for me, my hobby is my work. I love it. So if I read, it's usually something to do with, psychology or mindset or health and well-being, and if I'm, doing stuff, if I watch stuff, it just tends to be, I love it.
I think in the coaching industry, you do find a collection of nerds. Like, I'm an absolute coaching nerd. I'm going on holiday in a few weeks' time, and I know I've got a CPD program I'm doing, a self-guided, and I'm really looking forward to that hour on the Sunday when I can read through my journals. Totally nerdy. And I think it just attracts people who are lifelong learners. Because curious people who love to learn, love, coaching psychology, is fascinated by human behavior. This is never ending, is it? Like, there's so much more you can always kind of learn and grow from. So, that's always, I've always had progress as a value of mine in career, and in the corporate world, that was used to be kind of climbing the ladder. Whereas in my business now, progress is so much broader than financial growth. It's about the progress I'm making of my own self-development, the progress I'm making around, my knowledge and wisdom and what I can share, and things like that. So, I've found it to be a great fit. So, Well, look, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. Hopefully it inspires some more people to investigate the career of coaching and see if it's a fit for them.
I totally couldn't recommend it highly enough. And as I was saying to you as well, when I work with clients, quite often I've worked with quite a few women that have gone on to train as coaches themselves, because when you're coached, they're like, I want to do what you do, because they see the joy I get.
That's what took me into coaching. I was coached, and then I was like, oh, I think this could be the thing. And then I went to train as a coach. And many of the people we have coming through on our programs have been coached themselves. And then are looking for a way to kind of build that in. And of course, you don't have to go all in and become a coach. Like, actually just gaining coaching skills to implement into your role. Equally is a great way, to get started. So, thanks, Kim. Really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.